Okay, and today we have the honor of inviting our guest speaker, T.T. Chen, a long friend of mine and also my mentor when I was on corporate side. And T.T. is very is a veteran executive. He has been through 12 assignments on interim CEO or general manager roles. So he has very deep and profound and experience in leading different types of teams. And today he has the topic to share with us is about leadership challenges and the lessons from an interim CEO perspective, which is very interesting, I guess, to many of you. Well, I should not say too much. Let me welcome TT. Okay, TT, welcome.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Like Sheldon said, we worked along for a long time. Before I was his boss, now at Tableau, he's my boss. So I worked in the corporate world for a long time, but 16 years ago, I retired from Avery. And so I'm executive coach. I'm also interim general manager, CEO. I enjoy this lifestyle, and Sheldon asked me to not only speak from the interim GM's perspective, but also what did I learn from all these assignments, and then what lessons a permanent CEO or a future CEO can learn from my lessons. Now, of course, it's just from my perspective. I do not represent overall interim GM, but from my perspective, my experience, I'd like to share my thoughts with you. Next slide.
Yeah.
Next slide.
Okay.
Now, this event is jointly sponsored by ATTA. It's an Asia Transformation and Turnaround Association. As we talk about turnaround for interim management, ATTA is an association with a lot of interim managers. They could be operational, finance, general managers, and as well as service providers, lawyers, and accountant. Accountant could be an interim CFO type of assignments. What we do is we get together and we share our experiences, share business leads, and then maybe help problem solving. Sometimes, for example, I will have a case and then share with people and get people's thoughts and how to best solve specific problems. It could be interesting. So if people who are interested to be future or currently want to be involved, you can WeChat me and we talk about you become a member. We also have WeChat groups. We share a lot of info there too. Next.
Yeah.
Now, what are interim management? What are interim managers? Basically, is when a company wants a specific type of talent, either because they don't have it, or they just short of resources for a very specific assignment. Now, it could be a specific project, moving a plant, reorganizing the sales force. So they are very time specific and assignment specific. Now, in terms of interim CEO, interim general manager, it's broader because basically, in some ways, you're given away a lot of responsibility and authority to a specific person. So that usually they are more careful about who they hire and how much authority they will give. But in general, when this type of businesses, the general interim manager has a lot of authority, a lot of responsibilities. Now, why companies will hire interim CEO? Now, one of the situation is the company is underperforms, or maybe even in crisis, losing money, losing market share, losing customers. That will be the most serious situation. The second one is more interesting. Actually, happens more often. Is really the headquarters no longer trust the current CEO, either due to performance weakness, softness, and/or compliance related issues. Now, for example, I have two examples in two cases that I handled. My client asked me to determine where to replace the current CEO, general manager. I went in as the interim operation director because operation director just left, as well as many other managers left. And my way of assessing this is when I talk with the general manager, he says, well, what you talked about, a lot of those issues, I totally agree with you, but I can't convince the global CEO to accept them. That's criteria number one. In other words, he doesn't have much of a mutual trust with the CEO. Doesn't mean CEO is right or wrong. It's just CEO doesn't trust him. The second one is he runs a team and he has people on his team, but only about 1/3 of the people I talk to sort of is on his team. 1/3 is on the operation director's team, and the other third says, well, I'm not on anybody's team. I just listen to what the company wants. So the decision is very easily for me to make, is to say to replace the current CEO. Because if your boss doesn't trust you, and that wasn't yesterday, it was over a year and a half. He couldn't even get his bonus. And 2/3 of the people don't see him as the true leader. Why is he still here? He should go. So that is the lack of confidence. So that is one decision. The other decision I can give you is that the global CEO says that the China CEO may have compliance issues. They heard that there's a Xiaojingku, there's a private bank
China
hiding somewhere. Yeah, China scenario. So you go in, look at it. If indeed he's on the take, he has the Xiaojingku,
right,
then you go in and replace him. Now I went in and I talked to him and worked with him. I think he does need some nurturing to become a true CEO, general manager. But as far as the Xiaojingku, he only used these small amount of money for social gatherings, for team building. This is from the Hongbao, the suppliers give to him, gives to the company, then he puts it into the small bank. And it was very clear he never took money on his own behalf.
right.
So my answer to the global CEO is to say, no, I don't need to replace him. He has a lot of experience. He hasn't yet become a true general manager and need to nurture him. So I stay on for a while to help him become more robust on handling external issues and negotiations. So those are the two examples. Now, the other one is, it could be that China CEO simply left for a better opportunity or for personal reasons, and there are no candidates available, in which case they do need an interim GM or CEO to come in. Okay, next.
Okay. And to what kind of percentage, from your perspective, or based on your experience, these three scenarios?
I actually have an example. I guess I can use it right now, because basically, I think, let's say out of the 8, out of 12, is related to lack of mutual trust. 4 of them, the performance of the business actually are okay or pretty good. And only 2 are strictly for compliance issues. So lack of confidence, lack of trust, or, I only have 12 assignments, right? And then 8 of them are lack of trust, basically.
Okay. So trust building
Yes,
seems to be
absolutely
a critical issue. Right.
Right.
Okay.
I'll get to that too. Yeah.
Okay.
So next slide.
Yeah. So then you're going to talk about mutual trust. Right.
Yes, exactly. Now, I think this is the key, number 1, because before I take on any assignments, I talk to the person who is hiring me, the boss, and maybe his boss. I look for the right chemistry. I look at if I say certain things and how he responds to it, because I'm a pretty straightforward talker. Heck, Sheldon knows. Sometimes even a little abrasive. So if he accepts my style and no nonsense style, very straightforward, very clear, we can get along. That's a good sign. If it looks like everything I say is that let me think about it, then that's not a good sign. The second one is, do we communicate easily? Sometimes you talk, and especially right now with the COVID and the lack of travel, it's all video conference. You may not pick up what the people were saying 100%. You pick up 80%. So if I sense that when we talk, we don't really talk, he doesn't really fully understand what I say. If those two do not match, actually, I would just walk away. Most of the intern assignments are very intense, very stressful for turnaround situations. If you do not have the right chemistry and you don't communicate easily, it's not a good start. I chose to work on assignments that I can add value. If I don't have the right chemistry and then we don't communicate easily, there are two strikes against me. And I don't need additional stress trying to explain to my boss what happened. Okay, so that's two. Now, if we get past those two, then the question of what I do is I always involve my boss in all the people and business decisions before I make them. So if I'm thinking of making a business change or changing a key position, getting rid of the people or reassigning another major task, I always let my boss know first and say why I do this and what's my recommendation. So we can discuss it if he has some concerns or he wants to clarify before I do it. So this way, once we get to the decision, I get his full support. If any situation whereby I don't have the time to make that decision, somebody forced the decision on me, right at that time, right after, I will inform him what happened and why I made those decisions. But frankly, that rarely ever happened in all the assignments I made. I don't recall that I need to make a decision on the spot. That's so important. I should have told him in advance. So that's another one.
Okay.
And then the next one is show quick success. When you're on an intern assignment, the best thing you can do for your boss as well as for your team is show some quick success. Now, in one of the company I went to, the two departures of the Asia sales CEO. Now, the first one has been there for 5 years. The second one is the second in command. And then even into the third month, he's totally uncomfortable. He says he resign. What happened is during that 3 months, sales just stalled. And then obviously profitability tanked because the expenses are still there. So he was not really very helpful, but I know the people quick. I try to learn the team very quickly and delegate when I need to. And in 1 month, the sales is back on track and profitability is back on top budget. So once I was able to do that, then you earn the trust from your boss. He says he can make things happen. Then the rest becomes easier. You have to do things always. But if you can show quick successes to your boss and to your team, I'll show examples with the team. Those will be the way to go ahead. All right, next. Now, the other thing interim CEO has to do is learn the business very quickly. Because basically, in almost all the cases, there's nobody showing the rope or very little showing the rope type of situation. So you have to make decision in the first week, in office. Sometimes I've seen a lot of articles. On some other occasion, I went in on 2-day notice and a few memos.
Such a short notice.
That is very short because it was like a Saturday night to say, TT, I think I have to let the global VP, executive operation VP go. I need you to go into the office on Tuesday morning. So yes, you have to. So in all the situations, you have to learn to make decisions very quickly. So trying to understand the business, what makes it tick and what makes it not ticking properly. So what are the key problems that you have within the business? That's really important for me, at least. And then in almost all cases, the way I look at it is normally if this business is ranking 50%, 50 points out of 100, if you solve 2 or 3 key problems, resolve those problems, you can get them to 70 or 80%. You won't get you to 90%, 95%, but you get you out of the crisis. You get you to profitability, start, grow again, etc. So this is the issue. For example, I mentioned the Asia CEO situation. That one is the problem. Is the departing CEO, he really didn't want the job, and his removal and resolving the sales situation freed up. That's one. The second one was their China business is regional. Every regional manager handles all the businesses, industrial, garments, furniture, as well as auto. And they changed it to be industry focused. And that turned out to be also a success. Because at furniture, they really strike out and made a lot of business and made me look good. And because the team was doing the right thing. So those are the situations. Second, what I'm saying is I emphasize problem solving. I don't tell you about complex problems, how to solve it with complexity. In general, the problems, I'm not oversimplifying, but in general, they're simple. Your cost is out of whack, your customer focus is wrong, and your pricing has a problem. Okay, and then you focus on those, and it's easier. Now, when problems, there's one other thing that's important is that for interim CEO, sometimes there are problems that you should not solve. They should be solved by the permanent CEO that follows you. So I always talk to my boss and making sure that is the case. Some of this long-term strategy, I should not make major changes. Any fixes I do should be consistent with the long-term strategy, or I think long-term strategy need to be repaired, and this fix has to be made. And I'll also let the boss know we have to make those changes. I'll tweak the long-term strategy. The permanent CEO coming in, he can rebuild it again. So those are the things I do.
Yeah, and Katie, you mentioned that you normally just want to get say 80% or 80 points, right? Out of 100. Yeah. So how you normally define the key problem areas?
Well, basically, I read all the reports, I talk to other people, and then 中文讲作旁观者清.
Yeah.
Many times the problems they have is always there. They've been doing for a long, long time. And it's just that nobody tells them. Or the corporate guideline says you have to do this. You need an outsider to say, wait a minute. I guess I use this example. There's one company that went in and they went through integration because they used to be a joint venture, and then they have run by a Chinese partner is the general manager. So it's sort of messy. But the corporate headquarters says, in our division, average, the EBIT earning before tax is 17%. So we should all target that. You need to grow your top line, and you get to EBITDA at 17%. But the one I went in, the sales is declining by 7%, and the EBIT is -5.
Okay.
And when I first went in, they were looking at to say, I'm going to get from -5 to +17. And then I need to grow. I mean, so you can clearly see there's something disconnect. They were selling unprofitable products. They're selling to unprofitable customers. That just goes on and on. Yeah, they say, if I keep on selling, once I start growing, I'll be fine. Well, you're shrinking. and you're still losing money, right? So that's an example.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Next
okay,
one.
then the next one, yes.
Yeah.
Now,
sorry. Yeah.
Now, I am always a people manager. When I was a corporate, I'm a people manager, and when I'm interim manager, I'm still a people manager. So I try to understand the management team, and also by talking to them, I also understand the problems. For example, I could go to the group, and they may have different way of addressing the problem, but the way they define the problem is usually the same. But the way they solve problems, they could be different. It could be finger pointing to say, because somebody else, didn't do the right thing, that's why we have a problem. But once you know the problems, then easy. Then you say, are the problems real? And are they really that important? Which one are the most important ones? And how do we fix it? Okay, so that's one. Are they in the, so the question when you talk to them, then you also can see whether they are in the right position and can I help them tackle these problems, key issues together, or someone may be the key lieutenant to tackle a specific problem, and then motivate and coach these key managers to accomplish more. Because remember, in a stressful situation, maybe the company is not even profitable or underperforming. You don't have a lot of rewards that you can give to these managers, right? So how do you motivate them? So the motivation, actually, in most cases, I would say, look, in your professional life, you're going to be going through maybe several companies, or even the same company, you may go through up and downs. You are going to go through turnaround situations. Why don't you learn from experts? And then I'll help you learn how to do this. That would motivate the people who want to learn. And I usually will pick the people who wants to learn new skill sets. I mean, so that is another way you can motivate the people to do things, not just on a monetary basis. Because in the end, most of us will go through different companies, and company goes through different stages. How many companies are growing forever? Even Alibaba and Tencent has growing pains right now, right? And they're going through transformation, and it's not clear how they're transforming. They're just cutting heads. So we'll see.
But what about the morale issue, Titi? You mentioned you motivate people, right?
Yes, and that's correct.
Of course, you can coach some key managers. Then what about the whole company's morale, right?
The morale is a great issue. So the question is, then you talk about quick successes. Show them maybe this guy can actually lead us out of the problems. That's key. Number two, you want to be fair and straightforward, so they can clearly hear what you say, right? To say, I'm not favoring this guy. If we have pain, we all share the pain. For example, in one case in 2008, this company is probably my most difficult assignment. Well, most challenging. I wouldn't say that. Yeah, it is difficult. It's most challenging.
Everyone is difficult.
Yeah, that's right. But I enjoyed it because one of the product line is shrinking. The most profitable line is shrinking. The gross margin go down by 20% in 3 months because the financial crisis.
Okay.
I have to redirect the company resource to grow the automotive sector to make up for the loss. Now, one of the deals that made was to say if specific country cannot make their targets, their salary will be cut 20% during that quarter until they recover. And I said I would do the same, and I convinced the board of directors to do the same. That's fair. Fortunately, it's only one country that has to do this, and it's only for one quarter. But if you show that you want to fair to the people below you, and you above also are fair. I think right now it's happening anyway. I mean, the boss gets cut more than the bottom. But at that point in time, it was quite new. Okay, so you have to find ways to motivate them. There's other interesting stories I can talk about forever, but yes.
Okay.
Now, I really hire outside managers because, like I said, I think if an interim manager hires senior managers, then the new permanent manager comes in, he says, I don't like that guy, I don't like that lady. It just creates additional stress within the organization. So I try not to, unless I have to remove him. Sometimes I put him on the side and promote people from within, or split up his responsibility to be somebody who most suitable for solving a specific problem at a specific post. So that's how I normally do it. Now, I also say show quick successes. I would show a very simple one is when I get to this company and we're doing a quality meeting, and the quality manager comes up and say, or the customer service manager came up and say, we have this product accessories. It just doesn't work. Yeah. Now, what happens to it is when I should say customers get it before they give it to the end users, they throw them away. They will buy the right set of accessories from this company. Or worse, they use competitors' accessories on our product. And then the funny thing is that this accessories cost less than 0.5% of the work product. And I go like, why? He says that the previous general manager just wouldn't accept it. I've been asking her for 2 years. I'm just trying my luck on you. I say it's approved right now. Because I asked for people, is this the right thing to do? Everybody says, yeah, we should do it. I said, do it. That's the first week I was there. So then people start to see, okay, some of the problems that's going around, we can talk about it and discuss it, whether we should do it or not. Many companies, they do things, they just keep on doing it, and they assume it is right. Or, well, that's just the way it is. Maybe it's not right, but it's just the way it is. An outsider coming from outside will say, why does that make sense? It doesn't seem to make sense. Change it. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's a quick success example. Now, next slide. Now, how to be a successful interim CEO? I think you can see it clearly that 80 to 20% rule applies in my situation. I will focus 80% of my energy on the 2 or 3 key problems, issues that need to be resolved with some key managers and team. The rest of the 80% is delegated to the managers. They may not be perfect for the job. They may make mistakes, but that's okay because they will not affect the overall things. And they can also learn from the process. Maybe in the past, they didn't get the delegated responsibility. So a chance for them to grow as well. Now, the other thing is a clarity of major objectives and clarity of responsibilities. They all know which one I will pay attention to. And sometimes that could be micromanaging that specific thing if it gets down to close to the finish line. But everybody knows exactly what they do. And this helps to have the situation under control that way. Now, clarity of major responsibility, clarity of objectives. This is easy to communicate too. You can tell people inside and outside. Everybody knows, so we don't have to argue to say, what do we do next? Next. So now we get to say, now, okay, so that's your lessons. So what are my lessons to the permanent CEO, right? I mean, another way to look at it is how not to be replaced by interim CEO or somebody else in your company. So look at it this way, right? I mean, it's not just to help you just to be better, and just think on the extreme example is if you're underperforming, you may be replaced by somebody like me. So what can you learn? Number one, are your objectives clear and simple other than numbers? I mean, I heard a lot of general managers, and even in our reports, is like, okay, my sales went up 7%, beat the objective target by 2%. net profit is improved or missed by 2%. It's almost just financial KPIs. But are your objectives clear and simple, other than the numbers? So are you focusing on solving the most important problems that will make your business better, longer term and short term? The other thing is, do not.
Yeah, and TT, can you elaborate a little bit more about clear objectives?
Clear objective
other than
is
numbers. Number is easy to understand.
Right. Are we in a growing phase? Are we going to add new customers? We focus on the 3 customers, or we need to transform our operations. Digitization of operations.
Yeah.
Right. So you build the foundations for improvement. That's a step change instead of incrementally. Like, I'll give you 2% improvement every year, right? I mean, you hear a manager says, I'll deliver 2% every year, right? And then they calculate to say, if they think you're going to deliver 3%, actually hold it back to 1% for next year.
Yeah.
Then you're thinking incrementally, right? You're optimizer. Yeah. So strategically, what do you want to do? We come to examples like that to say, are you brave enough to deliver 5% when the target only costs 2%?
Even more.
Yeah, right. Be brave, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing is, do not assume that good company performance equal to mutual trust. Some people said, hey, my boss trusts me. I always deliver numbers, right? But that is not automatic, right? If you deliver numbers, the boss may say, yeah, great, you're doing fine. But does that really mean that he truly trusts you? I heard global VP said to me to say, well, right now with the COVID, I can't travel. There's some managers in certain countries, I don't trust their numbers. but or I don't trust the way they do things. There's a lot of issues there, but I can't find an easy way to replace them or give them a chance. I need to see them, talk to them, and feel what's happening before I'm making that decision. Does that sound like trust? Or just say, I guess your number's okay? Yeah. Okay. So the question then becomes, if you underperforms, then mutual trust becomes even more important. Right? So if you look at this, under the current situation, your boss cannot travel. If you had a new boss, how do you build mutual trust on video conference and phone calls, emails, right? I mean, you really need to cultivate it. Do not assume because the other side didn't say anything, and then then you're okay as long as you deliver the numbers. You can hide the numbers, right? I mean, you can manipulate the numbers. You think that people above trust you all the time, especially if people also say you have compliance issues. Have somebody inform you on this, hotline to say the boss is on the take, and you have a lot of problems hidden that you're not seeing. So let's see. Let me give you an interesting example. I think this is a good one. Now, there's a local general manager. He was running a small business, reasonably well, but he doesn't speak English. And then his lieutenant, second in command, speak passable English. So what they do is they write, general manager writes Chinese, reports, and the second command translate it. And the CEO in the US, he can't understand it. He just used Google's translator. Now, can you imagine a CEO manages his business by Google Translator? Now, how well would he do? Now, this guy goes too far. The example they get too far is like, he would say, okay, this year we did pretty well. The numbers are up reasonably well, not that great, but it's good. He says, so, okay, the engineering director, you get 9 months of bonus. Mrs. So-and-so, and I get 6 months. And, my deputy gets 5 months. And then this guy I don't like it 1 month. So he just arbitrarily decided in huge numbers. I'm serious, it's 9 months. Okay, this is not internet company. And then on top of that, he says the company will pay the tax, will cover the income tax. He just did it. That's what triggered the CEO. He just went, bananas. He goes like, TT, I was thinking you have a consultant. I don't think that's going to work. We got to remove this guy, right? I mean, it's crazy, right? So if you run your business by Google Translator and the general manager doesn't speak English at all, you got a lot of surprises. There's a lot of interesting stories here, but anyway, I think let's move on to the next. Now, this one is a more interesting way, just to say, look at your company objectively. Just 用旁观者的态度来看 objectively looking at your business. Can you do that? I mean, you need to be able to do that. And sometimes if you may even need outside help. Are you really tackling the major problems and focusing on the right opportunities? Because sometimes you just incrementally every year, you just keep on doing it. And then you start saying, I'm timing it to make sure my numbers is okay every quarter. And then you start to skip those major issues. I mean, because they just go like, okay, yeah, I know there, but are you really trying to tackle those problems? Or you say, well, if I tackle those problems, I'm going to miss my bonus. That's an interesting question, isn't it? To say, are you brave enough to invest on major new opportunities or fix major problems? When doing so, will make you miss your bonus payments or your team's bonus payments. Now, I was a company that was doing very well and making target, but the corporate is not doing well that year. So in the second quarter I was there, the company says, we are in contingency now. We want every region to make a sacrifice. I mean, so this is the Asia Pac situation. And we need to make headcount cuts and expense cuts. So I talked to the largest department head, said, who are you going to cut? The name just pops out. I go like, what if we want 2 person? Then the second name pops out. I said, so you have a list of people that you could lay off if you have to. He didn't say yes or he didn't say no. He just looked at me. Because they have contingency plans so often. So it basically becomes automatic to say, okay, if I give them 1, then I have 2 left for the next quarter or whatever quarter that shows up. So in many ways, company becomes like just quarter by quarter. What do you need to do, right? Stepwise, incremental management, basically. So that is a situation whereby you're making all incremental decisions to be incrementally improving a little bit, or are you really solving the major problems facing your company? Now, the other thing is, do you reject proposal from your team without thinking objectively? Just like the accessory issue. That manager is persistently presenting it once a year, twice a year, I don't know how many times, and he just said no. Every time he just said no. I mean, and even major issues like that can be dealt that way. Now, the last question really is the critical questions. What happened when you're uncomfortable in your comfort zone, right? I mean, you're comfortable with this incremental 5%, 10%. What happened? You're missing one of the number or 2 of the numbers. You're really uncomfortable there now, right? I mean, you can't make them. Do you still want to stay in your comfort zone feeling uncomfortable, or you want to step out and start looking at things differently? Because you don't, it's likely you'll be replaced by somebody else, right? So this is a time that you should come out and think about it. Whether it's a product, customers, and then your targets, major issues, digitalization effort that requires a lot of investments, new headcounts. Can you do that? If you can, then you step out of these shadows and think clearly like an interim manager, right? I mean, think like people like me. Then you can get extra knowledge and jewel knowledge, and so you can use that to transform or turn around your business or improve your business. Next one is building mutual trust with management team and employees. Next slide. Okay. Do you motivate and coach your team members to do their best? I mean, this is a simple question. We don't need to spend much time. Do you have the right manager in the right position for the challenge of the company? Now, many managers, because their subordinates, the CEO, their managers have been there for many, many years. So even sometimes they're not perfect for that position, they sort of keep them there to say, well, he's been with me for 7 years, right? 10 years. And I just can't, I'll make somebody a deputy manager, managing that specific task, but I can't get rid of that guy. He's with me for too long. I mean, this is happening many times. But my question really is, how many years do you think your boss is going to give you if you underperform? Right? I mean,
right.
Maybe 1-2 years.
You got to deliver.
Yeah, you got to deliver. So, and then you need to learn how to deal with those situations, because you may be there. If you've been there for 17 years and you haven't changed, and you have to find a new job, boy, my friend, and you haven't using different ways to manage, you're in trouble. You have a lot of learning to do if you find a new job, right? So, okay. Now, are you perceived to be fair? Now, I've been in many companies, sometimes interim manager, sometimes a coach, sometimes just visiting other companies. There always seems to be a group of managers that favors, the CEO favors, and then companies that they don't, managers they don't favor. Now, the CEO will always tell me to say, hey, these guys, they accomplish a lot. Then the two questions. Number one, when did they accomplish it? I mean, if they accomplished 10 years ago, the rest of the team doesn't see it, right? A lot of them didn't see it. And second, even if you think there's a lot of accomplishments, other people may not feel the same way. So are you fair? I mean, sometimes you need to step out to say, yeah, am I really rewarding the right people? And I'm rewarding for the historical performance or for the current performance? They're different. And then for the people I do not like because of the chemistry issue, when they did a good job, do I reward them? If you perceive to be fair, you build a team much easier. Otherwise, you just have part of the team, like 1/3. Think about it. Do you have 1/3 of the team working as your team, or 1/2, or the entire team? You can never get 100%, but you ought to be getting most of the people to think you're fair. Now, do you communicate clearly and consistently? Now, there are many managers who say one thing one day and then change it the next day, and then say, oops, they'll change it, right? I mean, you are seeing that.
Yeah.
And then especially you're macromanaging the numbers, you will say, hey, you guys are doing a great job, but wait, we only need to grow 5%, and then this will make it 10%. We don't know how to do the next month, so hold it. Then you from one day to the other, then eventually people just listen to you. They don't make any decisions anymore. All the major decisions is yours, because you can change it anytime. Why bother making it and you change it for them, right? I mean, so consistency, clarity are very important. I think it doesn't matter what style. You may not have the same management style as I do, but I think that is straightforward. You can't keep on changing. Yeah. If you're changing, it has to be for good reason, and you need to explain why you change.
Okay. You always need to be clear, right?
Yes,
and consistent.
Right. Now, so, okay, next one. Do you allocate your time properly?
Yeah.
Now, this one, again, maybe you don't do 80-20, but do you prioritize? I mean, prioritization is another way of looking at it. Are you spending time on the priorities? Now, if your priority is a list of 20 and you never get them done, that's not priority, right? I mean, so I will never get to any company that has, 7 priorities, because I can't get all of them done in a short period of time. priorities is something that everybody can remember. If you just say, what's the priority? Everybody in the company said, managers say, these are 2 or 3. Then they are priorities. If you go to each manager, they give you different priorities. They're not priorities. They're functional department priorities and not your business priorities. So, and do you delegate to your subordinates so they can grow? So are you making all the decisions, or are you giving, the people opportunities to grow? Now, and then let's see, next slide. Now, if your business is underperforming, how would you turn around the business? Now, normally the boss would select you to somebody else to turn around your business. Because you're underperforming, why would they ask you to turn around? So how do you convince your boss? Can you convince your boss, if you're underperforming, you know how to fix it? And then how do you explain that you're underperforming? It's kind of circular argument, right? If you know how to turn it around, you would not be underperforming. But actually, you may need time to turn it around. So can you convince your boss that you actually are trying to turn it around instead of just managing by numbers? Now, let's put it in a way too, is that if you see underperforming business in your group, you're in the same area or same country, and it's underperforming, and it needs to be turned around, would you volunteer to turn around the business, even if it's a promotion? Would you say, hey, boss, I like that. I think I can turn around that business. So recently I have asked a very successful turnaround executive who run a global business in China, which is the only global business station in China, a turnaround business in 2 years. And I want him to share his experience, the journey with ATTA people on the round table. Before that, he was running 2 large plants in China for a more profitable business. But he was asked to turn around a more mature, money-losing global business. Now, he did not even have the full P&L responsibility before this assignment, because he was only running the plants. Yeah. But he took on the challenge and made the business profitable in 2 years. Now, the interesting part is that he was a very tough-minded business manager. That's why they picked him. He rose to the challenge, but I was asked to coach him 6 years ago, because the company wants to be culturally more sensitive to the Chinese managers. So he was tough manager, but in his global turnaround assignment, he's the only expat. Everybody else is a Chinese manager. So how about that turnaround? So he really raised to the challenge and do things that seems really, really tough. Okay. Now, another way to look at this is really pretend you will be replaced by an inside executive or interim CEO. What would he or she do? Think like him. Think like me. And then we'll force you to get out of the box to say, are there some taboos that within our company we wouldn't touch for any reason? Or it's just blindsided, or I don't want to do it because it's going to tank short-term results, whatever. But really, today, who can guarantee your business is going to be smooth sailing every year? There's so many things happening right today in the world. So if you think like you're going to be replaced and you're the interim manager or you're the replacement manager, would you do something different? So again, in summary, I think really for a permanent CEO or for future people, wannabe general managers, you build and maintain mutual trust with top management. It's a little more complex than just saying it. Okay, you really need to understand it's not just numbers, it's also trust, that he trusts you making the right decisions and you trust he'll protect you. And periodically try to look at your company, your business objectively. So you don't just keep on incrementally every year until it becomes a road of no return, huh? Or they call it the river of no return. Do you allocate your time properly? And is your business underperforming? How would you turn around your own business? I think that basically is it. All the business is changing, and very few company can continue to grow smoothly. You need to learn the skills. So if you don't need it now, in the future, you need the turnaround transformation skills. Start learning and being objective and learn if you can look at things differently. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, TT. Now we have some questions for you, because our team has in advance collected some good questions. Number one, let me see. Some of the questions are very interesting. Yes, number one, what are the similarities and differences between interim and turnaround on tenured CEO or permanent CEOs? I guess that you have already addressed some of the points, key points.
Yeah.
You have anything else to say?
Yeah, I think if you look at it, I try to address from the mutual trust with the boss, building team, time management, looking at business. So similarities, I said. Now the differences, I think I can pick up two things. One is, if you stay in a company long term, you really need to understand the company culture more than I do, because certain company behave certain way, and if you stay there long term, you need to understand it and then behave in a way that's acceptable to them, even if they have a difficult problems. It's much harder. It's easier for me because the company is already under stress and they know I'm a problem solver. So in a way, I'm more of a problem solver to get rid of the major problems, headaches, right? And then a lot of times the permanent managers, the optimizers, right? You give me incremental improvements every year. So culture and in terms of the management style, problem solving versus optimizer. The issue with the permanent CEO or GM is that if you become a perfect optimizer, when companies start to change and to go through major changes, you may be in trouble because you only know how to optimize. But when companies going through drastic changes, you can't optimize it, right? I mean, so you need to learn some of the skills of problem solving and focus on the major issues, prioritizing, instead of just purely depending your optimizing skills. Because very few companies can stay forever and optimize it forever. Okay?
Yeah. Okay, excellent. And then what are the most pressing challenges for interim managers, interim CEOs or general managers when they take office? You mentioned a few cases, right? And
I think
anything else that you think very, very impressive?
Now, actually, I think the key thing is really making decisions very, very quickly, right? I mean, you don't with limited information, right? I mean, so for example, in that Asia Pac, the Asia Pac who decided to resign and the sales is lagging. He doesn't even want to do job transfer.
Oh,
he wouldn't even come for a job transfer. He would insist. Actually, he went for just 2 days. It was supposed to be 2 weeks. And since he's a long timer, that seems to be odd, right? I mean, so you got to make a lot of decisions on very limited information. So I need to build trust and intimacy with the team members to know what they are strong and what they're weak. What can I delegate, what I cannot. And this is something that it's a challenge. I like it because I have a strong sense of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to do is I want to see difficult problems and see how I solve it. Some people will be shy away from that. Actually, I find it interesting I find it interesting to say, for example, that company that the Google translator, this a good example. Now he actually the general manager, local general manager, once he knew it, he started firing the manager that he didn't like, and the HR manager he fired, and then the finance manager stayed home and wouldn't go to office, so the general manager can't fire him. So when I came in, I lost the general manager, I lost the second in command, who was marketing manager and office manager for that matter. So I have to negotiate to hire back the people that he fired. And that happened many times. In other assignments and global assignments, the European manager is not performing. And I have to hire back somebody that left the company a long time ago.
Oh,
because I think, yeah, right. And then, yeah, it worked out very well. So
how did you manage to get them over to rejoin the company?
I basically fly over to UK and I met him and sit on face to face and says, here's what we need to do. You've been in the company for a long time and then you left only 4 years. And here's an opportunity for you to rejoin us. And we're focused on automotive and you're automotive experts. And I will give you plenty of room. And we talked, and I think I can trust him. And I talked to other people around him about his capability. So I hired him back. I mean, so yeah, you got to make those decisions very quickly. And I choose not to get an outside person with no experience. That things were happening too fast. You have the people with some inside knowledge. Yeah. So yes, it's interesting. I find it interesting how to find instant solutions, quick solutions to the problems. And most of the time they work. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is very interesting case. Then another point, another good question came to my attention is that what capabilities do interim CEOs need to have in addition to, common leadership qualities? You mentioned some of them are very much common leadership qualities. What else is required?
If you think about it, I already said some. I think you really there are specific general managers. If some of them are very strong operation, they can turn around operation by just looking at it and clean up the process flow, optimize the specific operations. They could also be a financial expert. They can clean up the balance sheets and really look at the numbers and clean it up. But I can only speak for myself. If you really truly want to be a manager and run the whole business, the way I look at it is you have to be a problem solver. You have to like solving problems. And that's why I present it that way. I look at it as problems, key problems within the company, priorities you need to focus on. Curiosity will help because you can see things that other people who are not curious will not see, right? And then you have to be quick. You really have to be quick. Everything, you need to understand the business within a week in most of the cases.
Yeah.
Or at least the fundamentals, right? And then what are the key problems? What's the strategy? Does it fit with the strategy? Does it not fit the strategy? And then you have to convince your boss that this is the right thing to do. So it just stimulates me and in problem solving to say, how can I find a solution? I don't need a perfect solution. Some people says, I need a lot of information to get a perfect solution. For me, I can use limited information to get acceptable, pretty good solutions. I do not wait for the perfect solution. Maybe there is one. But time is of the essence. You need to move forward and you can tweak it, you can change it and modify it gradually. So that will be the way I look at it. And then that's different than what the optimized model, right? Incrementally improving every year. Well, put it the other way, Sheldon. How do you solve problem incrementally? Major problems.
Uh, Sorry, can you say it again?
I said,
Yeah.
how do you solve major problems incrementally? You know, solve a little bit every year. Yeah, incrementally. Yeah, right. I mean, it's rhetorical
Right.
in that way, right?
Yeah.
You have to take big steps
Yeah.
to
You have
solve
to.
major problems. Yeah. So
Because the
that's
company
why,
is in crisis. Yeah.
yeah. So that's why crisis happens, is that major problems are not solved, decisively, but they are incrementally managed.
Right. Yeah. Then, TT, you mentioned the alignment with when you just join or you took over an assignment, right? Then you move to the company, and then you get aligned with the senior management, with the board of directors, right? And you try very hard to obtain internal recognition within the organization, right? In such a short period of time. There are any, I mean, some hints that you can share, or you are kind of technical know-how.
Well, I think actually it's again, I like things that simple, right? Like I said,
Yeah.
chemistry, frequency of communication, major decisions always share in advance. See, this is a way that you can test it, right?
Yeah.
If the proposals you made, 9 out of 10 times they agree with you, you're on good alignment, right? I mean, so, but if they start to question and have hesitated on 2 or 3 out of the 10, I will ask back. I will say, do we have a concern? Do you have a concern with the way I manage?
Yeah.
Are we still aligned properly? I'll be very open to say that.
Yeah.
And then if you do, I'm open to step aside as long as you have a transition arrangement.
Yeah.
So you need to be brave. You need to ask the tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have to have tough questions, because one time a CEO hired me and then he was fired and the new CEO came in. Right? I mean, then the alignment becomes a problematic, right? You got to start over again. So yes, ask the tough questions. I am brave enough to say to sign my contract to say we can terminate this arrangement on 2 weeks notice.
Uh-huh.
I have no problem with that. But I will not walk away if I think things don't work. I wouldn't walk away until you have a transition arrangement.
Uh-huh.
So that requires a lot of guts and confidence, but I think that's what it takes.
Okay. Yeah. And what are the most challenging, kind of points when in this alignment process, you try to get aligned with, the senior management team and the board, right? But some of the issues that prevent you from, succeeding in getting alignment. Is there any case like that?
Actually, for me, I can recall all these issues. Very rare, because people in the turnaround situation, they want quick solutions. Okay. They have to agree to it, right? I mean,
so they have to.
So therefore, they have to.
Yeah.
So that usually is not a problem. More problem is it's more like an incremental. They want an incremental manager to babysit and just optimize a little bit. That probably have more problem with it, because that's my style.
Okay.
You understand? So I try to stay away from that, because why don't you just babysit this company for me until I find somebody? Okay. It's probably not my cup of tea, actually. It was, but I guess it never was. I was never that type of manager.
Okay. And then another good question is that as you mentioned a couple cases that you make a smooth transition, right, in a very short period of time. And there are any or key points that you mentioned clarity, you mentioned consistency. In addition to those points, any other key elements in your success story?
That's an interesting question. I would say under stress, I tend to be able to stay calm. Maybe not at the time, but I can always find a solution within a short period of time, 1 day, 2 days at most. So I'm ready for surprises. So it's the ability to settle issues quickly is a plus in the interim management situation. I think it's a plus in any management situation, but especially under stress, when company is under stress and you are an outsider, you need to be able to prove yourself quickly, right? So each time the problem shows up, there's a solution. Or it would delegate to somebody to find a solution. Then in general, things should run pretty smoothly. So it's the confidence to be able to resolve problems with the team is important.
Yeah. And how you obviously the same team, right? They underperformed before, and with you on board, right? And then you make the transition. You made the change.
Yeah.
What are the key issues that with the team that why they underperform just because of the CEO? I mean, the previous CEO or something else.
That will depend on the situation. Sometimes it's because the previous CEO micromanages everything.
Okay.
And then I can't, right? I'm an outsider. I don't have the company experience, industry experience. I have to delegate. But the question that I go through is I look at the people. I delegate to the right people. Sometimes, even though it's the same team, but they may not be in the same position. Or there'd be specific projects. There'll be project managers who are younger, more aggressive, and wants to learn, wants to challenge. They will be taking the lead on the specific projects. So if I don't change the team dramatically, but I can reallocate the responsibility to different people if I need to. Or some projects that are so important, I will run that project myself. So with the same team, but they may not all in the same position. And also they definitely know I will delegate because I don't know the business, right? I mean, how can I know all the details? There's no way, right? With the right input, because like I said, usually they can always define the problems clearly and you can see them clearly. It's when you get to solutions, they have all kinds of different opinions. Then you have to get all the opinion and decide which one is the best. There's a lot of, then you get the best solution out of those. And then since I'm a problem solver, I can usually see which ones are more practical and then which ones are not practical. And then the more I'm into it, I usually choose the right one, at least 80, 90% of the time.
Interesting. So delegation really matters, right? In this process.
Absolutely. How can I get all the sales back if I don't delegate? I go out and sell. I mean, Sheldon, I'm not a sales manager, right? I mean, you delegate the people, and then you're just saying what situation, what margins, and then the financial people is going to tell me what margin is acceptable. And then, for example, I'll give you an example here. Their Vietnam general manager, the previous CEO doesn't trust him. So every time he used a commission agent to facilitate the transaction, he would say, why is this one 3%? That one is 4%, that one's 5%. So sometimes just get dragged down because he didn't approve the 4%, just get stuck. I told the Vietnam manager would say, look, this year your average is 3.4. So I would delegate authority to you. So each quarter you need to come in below 3.5. If you go above 3.5, then I'm coming and ask specific questions. He never asked me. I don't need to ask any questions. He's always stay below 3.5. I mean, so simplicity versus complexity. You're going to argue with him about 0.5%, and you don't know what's the situation.
Yeah, you don't really know the details. Right? They know the details.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want to know either, right? I mean, they're doing the facilitation in Vietnam.
Yeah.
You just give them a guideline to say, if you stay within this, then you have the autonomy to do it. And then I would just have the finance manager check on the contract to make sure there's nothing slippery there.
Okay, very interesting. Yeah.
And I think the permanent GM should have used that method, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And TT, another quite interesting question is how can the interim seal quickly balance how does the interim CEO balance issues such as short-term decision making and long-term strategy? This is quite I would say a question quite to the point.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a very good question. Now, basically, if I go to a company, then I always says, what's the long-term strategy, right?
Yeah.
That has to be clear, right?
Right. You ask.
And then, or I will also try to figure out in shape to say, is that for real or is that just a slogan, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we get agreement to say, when I make changes, I want to make sure that it's not in conflict with the long-term strategy.
Mm-hmm.
The short-term fix that has to be made because the major issues have to be fixed. Or I said, wait a minute, this has to change the long-term strategy somewhat.
So
because
you
it's just not working anymore. Yeah. So I would actually go back to CEO to say, look, by doing this, I'll be shifting this long-term strategy somewhat because it's just not working anymore. And they'll have to get his agreement. So they're making that changes. But in general, the long-term strategy would not be touched or at least not significantly changed. That should be left with the permanent GM to do. So I need to look at those 2 or 3 major changes that I'm going to make. Are they consistent with the long-term strategy, or is the long-term strategy still right? Or need to be repaired, or need to be renewed, or transformed? So that needs to be very, very clear too in the beginning as well. For example, like I said on the global assignments I made, I stayed for 2 years. It's more like a permanent assignment. We know the long-term strategy has to be changed because one of the most profitable product lines was 40% of the business. It's disappearing.
The market is gone.
The market is gone. You have to change it, and that everybody knows. So the long-term strategy has changed. We need to pivot to different products and to a different product mix. And then fix the product and change the reduce the expenses significantly. That's a major turnaround situation.
So in that case, you actually help them redefine the long-term strategy.
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
And then you put implementation, right?
Yeah, because I think it's obvious that once they accept the fact the product line A is going away, you don't need to. They all know that we need to go to automotive, right? Yeah. But the only question is, do they believe that the other one, electronic one, is going away? And then if you can't get orders, and if every time you want to place an order, they say, I will accept the order only 20%. with 20% cost reduction. And I can't promise how much volume I'll give you. That is a clear signal the business is no longer profitable. You can still sell.
Yeah.
But it's a 0% profit net, if that. So why would you do it? You keep a little bit of it, but it used to be 40% of your business, right? So you have to grow other businesses. That's not a choice.
Okay. Okay, very good case. TT, thank you. And we are close to the finishing line today, and we still have some more questions, but I would like to choose two. All right. And one is, can you share the most challenging and typical case in your 12 interim CEO experience? I mean, positions.
Now, I think the global assignments I talked about, when the product shrink, that's the most challenging, right? And then, but I gave several examples of how I approached it. So I don't think we need to spend more time on it. I think we can spend time on this managing by Google Translator, right? I mean, we spent a fair amount of time on that one. That one, yeah, just all the things that just didn't go right. And then but it's not a typical. I guess it's the thing that everything goes wrong. I guess I'll just share an interesting example.
Okay.
When the general manager was let go, he asked for a certain severance package, and we said, okay, we'll transfer this fund to you in a week. And then this guy came back, called me 2 days after that, says, hey, I'm coming in on Thursday, and I'm going Wednesday. That's tomorrow. I want to collect money. I said, look, give us until Friday. Thursday, I'm going to be in another location, finishing up another project. But on Thursday, the finance manager called me and said, this former general manager came in with a guy who looks like a lawyer, and then the 5 hoodlums, like Liu Mang they blocked the door, wouldn't let anybody go out, and the CEO think he's still having friendly conversation with the former CEO. So I called the CEO and said, hey, don't talk to him, and then see if he can get out. And he said he can't get out. So I phoned the former CEO, Mr. Hu, whatever, okay? And I said, hey, listen, I mean, we said we're going to give you the money. Why are you here? He said, I want you to talk to this lady. And then this lady came on board. He says, I'm with the tax bureau, local tax bureau.
Okay.
if you don't give the money today, now, we'll inform you all the things that this general manager done that was illegal. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And so I said, come on, I talked to the former general manager. This is just way out of
blackmail you.
Yeah, that's right. So I said to the finance manager, let's work on this and make sure that we can make the payment. This is getting ridiculous. And then half an hour later, the finance manager called me back. He says he's finishing a calculation, but the electricity went out.
Oh.
I go like, holy smoke! And so I said, what's happening? And he said, the finance manager says I locked myself and the accountant in the finance room, office room. She's afraid, right? I called Gong'an already. Called the police already. So I talked to the general manager and said, the former general manager. Actually, he's Mr. Chen too. Okay. So I said, what's going on here? I mean, we if you without electricity, we can't wire the money to you. He said, that's not me. I didn't turn off the electricity. I said, okay. Then everybody stay calm, right? Stay calm. The electricity will come back, and we'll wire the money. Half an hour later, and then the finance manager called and says, yeah, the electricity came back, and then wired the money, and he and his hoodlums left with him, gangsters left with him. it turns out the few blocks by the economic zone was lost electricity. Now, so I came back the day after. I talked to the people. I said, really sorry, I should have been here. This is messy. And then there are two groups of people. One group is less than 2 years old, and the other one's 3 years old.
Yeah.
The 2 years old people, younger people say, yeah, this is crazy. The 3 year, 5 years, 10 years people, they go like, oh, you didn't see the last general manager. He was a minority partner.
Even worse.
Yeah, he came in with 20 people with guns and with the sticks and hammers and knocking around and everything. So if you enjoy the life of interim GM, this is not a typical day, but it's an interesting day. I guess I'm off track on that problem, was it?
This is very unique experience that you have gone through, right?
Okay. Then the other question I could have said, I was shutting down the plant, and then there are 5 managers. They all are not friends with each other. Everybody is just on their own. I'm the 5th general manager coming in trying to close the plant. All the other ones just couldn't make it and just left. So by the time we need to close the plant and lay off people, I had all the 5 people coming in. I said, you have incentives, financial incentive to do well. Okay, you get this and that and this and that. But the second one is, I have question for you, for all of you to say, you're all young, you're all less than 40, maybe just over 40. You're gonna find new jobs. How would you tell your new employee what happened to the last company you left? In a mess, everything messed up, or you say, because of profitability, we had to shut down the plant, and everybody left, and they get a good deal, a reasonable deal, right? Reasonable deal, and everything settles properly. And they all nod ahead and sort of understand they need to do the right thing. And lastly, I said, you also need a reference letter, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You need a reference.
When we went into the layoff process, you know what the finance manager said? Finance manager said, he was closest to me. He said, hey, we only have so much money. If you don't get your payout, then maybe we run out of money, then nothing we can do. Right? I mean, the owners, they don't pay a lot of attention. So we're able to shut down the plant peacefully. Everybody got their package, and nobody arbitrate.
Oh, okay.
So you got a team working, So how do you get the team working in a situation like that?
Right. That's really crisis management. Right?
Yes. Well, but it's interesting because how do you motivate people to do the right thing, and they know this is the right thing to do.
Right. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Very it's an exceptionally interesting story. Okay. Finally, there are many young executives who want to be the future CEOs down the road. Okay. What kind of advice you would like to share with them?
Okay, that's a good one. I remember when I was young, and I was cocky, and I was in the U.S. And then one of the experienced general manager been there a long time. He told me to say, TT, you say you want to be a general manager. Do you know what a general manager's life is like? One day you'll be on sky, on the sky, you're blue high. You're really really good, and then the other day you had a real bad day. Everything is not working. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And then your boss likes you one day, and the next day you chew you out and say your numbers sucks, really bad. Do you like that kind of life? Maybe he exaggerates a little bit, but suddenly for interim management it is. But if you want to even a general manager, you need to accept it, because a general manager basically is responsible for whatever happens.
Yeah.
So the good things happen. Sometimes it's because the business is, industry is good, economy is good. You get good results. Don't think that was because of you. And when sometimes the economy is bad or the industry is going through a downturn and your business results are lousy, it's still your responsibility. You can't say,
Yeah.
well, economy is bad and etc. If you accept the fact that sometimes good, sometimes bad, and sometimes you need to incrementally manage in a specific situation, and sometimes you need to step out and then try to handle the tough people issues and business issues. Now, I'm a people manager, so for me, I usually solve problems through people. But you could be a business solver, problem solver, issue solver. But you need to be able to be flexible, sometimes up and down, and in the end, you still accept the results and enjoy it. If you don't
Yeah.
enjoy it, you think it's taking medicine. Don't try. It's not worth it. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously. I mean, you're up
Yeah.
and down, you're stressed out, you chew up your family, you shout at your kids. That kind of life is not good for you, and not for your
Yeah.
family
Yeah.
or for the
Yeah.
business. You have
Yeah.
to like it. If you like
Yeah.
that, great. And then
So
all the rest of stuff we talk about. Can you build the mutual trust with your boss, fit into the
yeah.
culture, and manage the business properly, priority, etc.
Yeah. So problems will be part of your life, right?
That's right. You always
You have good
problems.
time, you have good time, you have bad time, but problems are always a part of the life.
And then the other thing is, can you rely on your people to solve problems for you? I mean, if you're not the
Right. Right.
greatest problem solver, can you have problem solvers around you
Right.
so they can
Right. You
solve
got
problems
to.
for you?
Yeah. Have good people with you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Working with you.
Good team. It's always a good
Yeah.
team. You're only as good as your team. That's the way I
Yeah.
look at it. I'm only as good as my team.
Yeah.
And you had to build the team very quickly.
Yeah.
Interim assignment.
Okay. Thank you again, TT, for your wonderful sharing of many interesting or exceptionally good stories. uh, I highly appreciate. Right? And on behalf of friends in the live stream talk room, again, right? Thank you, TT.
You're
Okay.
most welcome. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well. It's a part of the life. Sometimes, bad scenario, happens. Like today, we, in the beginning of the time, the talk, the live stream talk, we had technical issues.
Yeah.
We don't blame tension, but
No,
it's
blame the interim GM. He can't even connect, and then how can he solve all those problems, right?
Okay, thank you, TT, for the further explanation. And thank you, our friends in the live stream room, talk room, and thanks to our team for your great support. Today, you help us address the issue. Right? And finally, good night to all of you, and see you next time. Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.